Hello, Mighty Emotions community. Welcome to the second training of the month, which is how to resolve your manifestation blocks. I bet that this month is bringing up a lot of stuff as you are going through the material, answering the reflection questions, or just reflecting on them, thinking about them, seeing what kind of answers come up and show up in your life. And all of that is absolutely normal, by the way, and is part of the process. And I really wanted to talk about this restoring, you know, getting yourself back on track, resolving your manifestation blocks, because I've listened to a lot of manifestation teachers. I have my own mentor, and I've read a lot of books. I continue to read the books because I want to saturate my mind with these concepts, but nobody really talks about the blocks. Nobody really talks about what shows up, where we get stuck, how to deal with being stuck. So we're going to do that today, okay? So first of all, what are blocks? Blocks are the ways that you are limiting what you are available to experience. Like if there's a spectrum of experience, right? What are you allowing yourself to experience? Remember, manifestation is your ability to create space for new evidence. You're not creating your reality. I'm sorry to tell you, reality is a co-creation of so many factors. You have a part to play, but manifestation isn't me creating this outcome. Manifestation is me saying, this outcome is available for me, and I want to create this evidence of it being available for me. I want it to show up in my life, and I want to experience this, and I'm open and available to that. Right? So you may have seen, sorry, the image is a little blurry, it's just a copy paste, but you may have seen this image before where people will tell you, higher consciousness, lower consciousness, etc. It's not really a cone. It's something that we're constantly oscillating between. And it's absolutely the full spectrum of life and existence is part of the full spectrum of our emotions. So we're going to experience highs, lows, in betweens all the time. We're going to experience things that are pleasant and things that are not as pleasant. That's just the full spectrum of life and experience. When we're talking about consciously manifesting the things that we want to experience, the things that we desire, we're talking about knowing that that desire exists within that full spectrum of experience. It's a possibility. So, how do we bring it into our reality and make it real and tangible? So remember the three steps to manifesting. There are only three steps. How you go about doing these three steps, there's lots of different strategies and tactics, but all the strategies and tactics are simply trying to get you to achieve step one, step two, and step three. So that's the first thing, is getting clear on what you want, your desire, things like vision boards, vision videos, vision lists, goal lists, whatever you want. That is getting clear on your desire. Beliefs, those are what you think is possible. Are you aware that there's a possibility out there? Can you get behind that possibility? And then expectation and certainty is knowing that it's possible, knowing that it's possible for you, and letting that be the standard that you have for your life. And when our manifestations are not happening, it's because we're blocked in one of these three steps. That's it. That's all that's going on. So let's talk about ways that we're blocked here and how to get unblocked. So the first step, desire, the ways that we could be blocked at this step is that we could be mentally clouded, confused, uncertain. And this is because there's a lot of unprocessed, unresolved emotions that are hijacking our nervous system. Confusion is that overwhelmed state of feeling so much at once and not really having clarity or organization to what I'm feeling, right? So when we don't know what we're feeling, we can't really be clear on what we desire, right? Another way that we get blocked at our desires is that we don't trust ourselves and we're disconnected from our intuition. Remember, our emotions are our instincts. And so when we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, we don't strengthen our instincts. But when we do process our emotions and we practice that, as you do here in the Mighty Emotions community, your instincts get stronger, your intuition gets stronger, and you're able to trust yourself faster, right? You're able to know what is true for you and what is a signal of, okay, maybe halt, pause, redirect, whatever the case may be. You can know that intuitively when you practice processing your emotions. And another way that you can be blocked is that you're too accustomed to living from obligation or denying your desires. I've fallen into this trap more times than I can tell you. I always forget that I'm not just merely supposed to live from obligation. Obligation is important, right? We want to be responsible. We want to be true to our word. We want to be dependable and reliable. However, living from a state of obligation all the time, denying what we desire is really, really draining, right? It's really draining because it's us suppressing all these desires, emotions that are showing up that are trying to show us what's really aligned with us, what's really important to us, what really matters to us. And we don't want to neglect that in our life. When we neglect that, we get blocked and we're not able to be clear about our desires. So, how can we get unblocked? First of all, look at why you're afraid of what you want. Why are you not giving yourself permission to have what you want? Right? And a lot of times there's a lot of stories underneath there, right? There's a lot of, oh, this is going to happen if I get this, or this person's going to be mad at me if I have this, or I'm going to be alone if I get this, right? The people around me aren't going to get it. Everyone in my life is going to have to change. My life is going to have to change. This is huge for people coming into recovery communities, is the realization a little while in that, oh my gosh, my life has to change if I really want to be clean and sober and happy because all the friends I have right now are partying and I'm gonna need new friends, and that can be terrifying, right? But that's a fear that we get to conquer. And we need to if we are going to get unblocked around our desires and we're going to allow ourselves to fully be open to what it is that we truly want. Getting clarity starts with asking lots of questions. Who do I want to be? Who am I afraid that's going to be mad at me? What is it that I truly want? Why do I want it? When? Where? How? Right? We have to get really specific around our desires. There's always like the essence of the desire. It's never the tangible thing itself. It's what we think the tangible thing is going to make us feel. It's what we think the tangible thing is going to mean. So when we can get clear on all of that by asking ourselves questions, by looking down the line and saying, okay, what do we think is going to happen if I really get this? That's making me pause. That's making me want to deny. That's making me want to excuse. Or how are we judging ourselves for having this desire? Who did we learn from in our lives that this is wrong to want this thing? Where did we learn that it was wrong? Where did we learn that it was unacceptable, right? All of these things need to come to the surface so that we can release them and we can refine them and we can reform them and we can get clear around what it is we truly want because desire is the first step. Letting ourselves want what we want is the first step. But before anything else, we need to do this. So if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling confused and overwhelmed around it, look at what you want, look at why you want it, look at why you're afraid to have it. Just clear out all of those old stories, bring them into the light so that you can say, ah, okay, I understand what's going on here, and I get to decide if I am going to really give myself permission to want this thing, right? Am I going to continue to deny it and suppress what I really want, or am I going to look at this stuff and just decide that I do want it? Now, the second step that we get blocked at is around belief, a limiting view of what's possible, typically because of unresolved past pain, right? We were disappointed at some point, right? We believed in something and we were let down. There's a lot of sadness that tends to show up when we're blocked around beliefs, when we are really limited and narrow in what we think is possible. Like belief is possibility, right? And so if I'm blocked around belief, it's I'm telling myself that's not possible for me. I don't get to have that. Someone like me doesn't get to have that, right? And ultimately, your beliefs are the ideas that you accept as true. And there's lots of ideas that you don't accept as true. And so belief is subjective. It is a choice. It is a decision. And sometimes we don't even know what our true beliefs are because it's just how we live. It's just how we show up in the world. It's just how we interact with people. We never really question, well, why do I interact with people like this? Why do I show up like this in the world? It's always due to a belief that's there, an idea, a story that you feel certain about, right? When we have beliefs, we tend to hold on to them because it makes us feel safe. It's like, no, this is how the world works. This is how people works. If I know how people work, then I know how to respond to them and I could be safe. But the reality is that your beliefs need to change as you change and evolve, and they need to expand. They need to grow. They need to widen. I'm not saying you need to completely stop believing in it, but it's about believing in it in an appropriate form, right? And so, an example of this, what I mean by that is if I can say, I believe that I am a sad person, I'm always sad all the time. Well, that may have been true. So I don't need to say I'm never sad, right? However, am I sad right now? Am I always sad? Right? This is getting into how we get unblocked. We look at, is it impossible? Is it always true? Is it a fact? Is it black and white? No, the truth is never black and white. There is always a little bit of good and a little bit of bad in the truth. The truth is always nuanced, always. If you're looking at something that's completely black and white, I really encourage you to step back and take a wider view, right? When we're getting unblocked around these beliefs, it's not necessarily a lot of people will tell you to just think the opposite thing. Our brain can call bullshit. Like our brain is going to be like, no, I have evidence of this being true. So we don't always have to say it's not true completely, but we can ask ourselves, okay, what's more true right now? Is it true right now? Right? And identify a lot of the times when we're trying to manifest something and we don't believe it's possible for us, start by asking yourself, is it impossible for you? Is there absolutely zero possibility that this could happen, right? And looking at why, the why behind your belief. What is causing you to think that this isn't possible for you? What is the story that you're telling yourself? And is that true? Is that 100% true? Or is there some nuance, right? Sometimes injecting possibility into a belief is simply adding words like sometimes, it depends, kind of, maybe. Those are words of possibility. And the most important part of getting unblocked around your beliefs, the most important part is that the core belief that you need to have to manifest anything, it comes down to your belief in your worth. It comes down to your belief in your worthiness. Because if I desire something, I have to also believe I deserve it. And the way that I know if I deserve it is because it's aligned with how worthy I feel I am of it. So if I don't think I'm worthy of love, if I don't believe I'm worthy because dot dot dot, whatever the reasoning is, which is what I need to challenge. But if I don't think I'm worthy, then I'm not going to think I deserve the thing I desire. But if I know that my worth is inherent, if I know that my worth is a fact, I'm certain of it, I know I'm worthy, then it will be clear to me, it'll be obvious to me that the thing I desire is what I deserve because that is what matches my worthiness. And we always know when we're out of alignment with our worthiness because it feels bad. We don't feel good. Our emotions are coming to the surface to show us that there's a misalignment there, that we're not getting what we deserve, that it's not aligned with our worthiness. When we're in relationships where we're not being treated well, we feel that. We feel the pain of that, the sadness of that, the void of that connection. And we know that there's a misalignment between the relationship we deserve, the relationship that matches our worthiness, and what we're experiencing. And sometimes we tolerate it and we make excuses for things. Our most important work in getting unblocked around our beliefs, in our ability to see what's possible, in our ability to be available to what's possible, is to believe that we're worthy. How do you believe that you're worthy? You decide. You decide that you're going to believe that you're worthy. You decide that you're going to accept your worthiness. You decide that even if dot dot dot, even if this person said this, treated you this way, etc., I am worthy, I am valuable, I am deserving of having my needs met. That is my self-love statement. And I always pull it out when I need to, when I forget my worthiness, right? So remember to go back to that self-love statement, even if all these reasons will tell you that you're not worthy because of all these things, and it's all a lie. Your worth is not in question unless you question it. It's not determined by anyone outside of you. It was with you the moment you were born. It's going to be with you until you die. It's about you being able to see it and you being able to embody it and you accepting that as true. So when you're not able to really feel like things are possible for you, it goes back to working with your shame, working through shame. If you read my book, the chapter on shame is going to help you tremendously, and part 3 is going to help you exponentially, right? So if you don't have a copy of my book yet, I highly suggest that you go out, grab that, and read the chapter on shame and read part 3 because that's going to help you around this section. Okay? Ways that you're blocked at the third step, which is expectations. Doubting what's possible, probably because you're trying to bypass step 2. You haven't fully got your belief behind it, so you're questioning, you're not sure, you're doubting it. You're hoping, but you're not trusting. You're not certain. And sometimes there's a lot of resistance to expectation. Like we don't really want to expect it because we don't want to avoid disappointment. And that's when we're manifesting from an anxious place instead of from an excited place. Anticipation can have either side, right? Remember, there's always a little good or bad, yin and yang, yin and yang. I always mispronounce that, right? But just because you were disappointed from something in the past, is that a reason to withhold a future positive experience? So, how do we get unblocked around our expectations? Expectations are about deciding what our standards are. It's like, this is the standard I want for my life. This is what I'm willing to accept. This is what I'm willing to tolerate, right? Deciding what normal is to us. And the thing about manifestation is that the more we can normalize the thing that we want being a part of our lives, the more we can visualize it being in our lives, the more we can expose ourselves to it in the real world, the more we can just like get immersed in it as much as possible, the more normal it's going to feel, the more like relaxed and at ease our body's going to feel with it. And that is the key. The key is that we're comfortable with it. We can see it happening. We can feel ourselves having it. Like our body is at ease with it. Like think about all the things that are just normal and standard in your life right now. You feel it kind of indifferent to them being there. You're like, yeah, of course this is here. This is what I get. This is what's my standard. This is what's normal. I'm used to this. That is what allows us to bring that into our lives. Okay. And when we think about experience, sometimes we think about it being like linear. Like, I can't expect this because this has to happen before this can happen. And sometimes that's the case. But there's also something called the butterfly effect, which is explained in a very confusing way. But long and short of it is in chaos theory, the idea is that something small can have this ripple effect that we don't even realize. And it can make something amazing happen from that tiny little thing. Something amazing can come from it. You could go to a new coffee shop and meet the love of your life, or you could be walking through a mall and get scouted to be a model. I don't know, like these are just examples of the fact that sometimes things don't happen in this linear way. So when we know that there's the possibility for this butterfly effect to happen, we can give ourselves permission to expect miraculous things. We can say, I never know, something small can create this huge impact on my life. I can allow that to take place because it's happening. It's happening whether we want it to or not. But when we're consciously manifesting, it's about letting that happen more and more, right? And the expectation phase is about staying in the energy of excitement, like looking forward to something, like excited, like it's coming, it's happening. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's going to be here so soon. This isn't about like, I love the Delulus, the Salulu. I don't know how long this is going to be trending, but I love it, right? I'm not telling you to be delusional. I'm really not. I'm telling you to look forward to and expect great things to happen in your life, and they will. Because when you're always looking forward in an anxious way, when you're always anticipating something bad happening, bad things are happening, right? You're not getting what you want, right? But you can use that skill that you already have to anticipate. It's a natural trait, a natural skill. You're just using it in the opposite direction of what you want. It's like we need to remember that the desire is there, that it's a possible reality. It's possible. It can happen. And then all the stories that come up that tell us it can't happen, it's our job to look at that and decide if we're going to accept that. Are we going to believe that? Or are we going to release that? Are we going to challenge that so that we can expect it to happen at some point in the future? I'm not telling you when you manifest to be like, on this day, at this time, this is going to happen. A lot of people have found success with that. I kind of just do it intuitively, but the work is more about staying in the anticipation, but the excited anticipation. Like think about when you go on a vacation and you're looking forward to that vacation. And when we do this, we can get unblocked around this. It changes how we show up. It changes how we are living our day-to-day lives as we're waiting for that manifestation to come true. So it's like we expect it to come true no matter what. It's happening. I already know it's happening. It's guaranteed to be happening. So what am I doing in the meantime as I'm waiting for it to happen? Am I checking every day? Maybe a few times a day I check and I get excited. Oh my gosh, I'm going on vacation. I'm just checking my flights. Yep, my flights are still there. Yay. I'm looking at the location that I'm going to be in. I'm imagining what I'm going to do when I'm there. Okay, and then I'm like getting back to my day-to-day tasks, right? I'm checking in on that every so often throughout the day, but I'm still doing my task. And I'm doing my tasks with a lot more joie de vivre. Like I'm doing them with a lot more excitement because I'm like, oh, this thing is happening, this thing is coming. You know, the day-to-day life just seems a lot more lighter and funner. And that's how we feel when we are looking forward to something. And we need to look forward to our manifestations in the same way. Because that expectation combined with the belief, combined with the desire, is what makes things happen. We need to get our mind and our bodies to collaborate in order to manifest the things that we want. The same way that our mind and our body work together to process our emotions, manifestation is saying, okay, let me take this imagination, let me get my nervous system familiarized with this and feel safe with this. Now I have what I want. I have what I want now, right? Decide what reality you want to be a part of. Everything is possible. There are many realities happening all the time. If you see something happening for somebody else, it's a reality that's available for you. Do you want to be a part of it? And be honest with yourself. We're allowed to admire things without aspiring to those things, right? I heard Stephen Bartlett say that recently in a podcast, and I loved it. It's like I can see that reality that's available for someone else, and I can admire it, and I can be in awe of it, and it can be so cool. I can be inspired by it, but I don't have to want it. I just get to decide what I want, right? So decide what reality you want to be a part of, and know that there's always a different way of experiencing things. Two people can feel so differently about the same experience. And that is because of the stories that we have behind it, the experiences that we've had, the beliefs that we have about things, what we think things mean, right? There are different perspectives at all times. So it's about how can I tap into the perspective of the person who has the thing that I want because they're looking at it differently than I am. And that is that's practice, right? It's always about expanding your perception, expanding how you're seeing things, expanding what you believe is possible for you, right? And I want to talk about in terms of desire, knowing that your desires exist for a reason. They're not random. If you desire something, it's because there's a need that you are trying to get met through that desire. That desire is trying to fill a need in some way. It's either you're desiring safety, freedom, meaning connection. And there are small actions that you can take to move toward getting that need met now. And that's going to give you the momentum and the energy to keep going toward the thing that you ultimately want, the big thing, right? Staying in the direction of, I am going to take care of myself. I am going to get this need met. I am going to move toward this desire that is going to get this need met in my life. And not judging yourself for what that desire is because you've decided what it means to you and why it's important to you. And a lot of times people are afraid when it comes to manifesting, so they hold back. But fear is not the thing that's holding you back. Not listening to your fear, not processing your fear is what's holding you back, right? Remember, when you can conquer that fear, it means that you have made a decision, okay? And you may be afraid because whatever you're trying to manifest, it just seems so ridiculous and delusional and outrageous compared to what you've experienced. But really, there are so many things in my life when I think back and I'm like, I I did have that amazing experience that was very similar to this and I liked it. And maybe I just want more of that. Maybe that was like a one-off thing, but there's always like nuggets, Easter eggs, little pieces of evidence that show you that it makes sense. Your desire makes sense, right? You can believe in it, right? Even if it seems crazy right now because of how your life looks right now, this is about being willing to collect evidence. This is about being willing to have that experience. So fear isn't a block, which is why I didn't refer to it as a block. Like fear is simply a sign that a decision needs to be made. At every phase, I wonder if you noticed, but at every phase I talked about deciding and choosing. Deciding what you desire, deciding what you believe, deciding what your standards are going to be. That is the key at every stage. And the thing that blocks us from deciding is fear that we're not processing. But fear is a signal that a decision needs to be made, that we need to decide and get clarity. So, my favorite way to talk about responding to fear is by making a value-based decision, right? We look at what are our options, what are the things that we value, and from those options and those values, which matches, which lines up the most with what's important to us. And we take the action in that direction. And it's amazing to me that every time I do this, the fear dissipates. Every time I do this, the fear dissipates because I have made a conscious decision. I have empowered myself with that, and I'm ready to move forward in the direction of what I want. If you're going to expand, and manifestation is about expanding what we believe is possible for us, it's about expanding what we're available for, it's about expanding what we're willing to experience, and saying, you know what, I get to have that too. It's going to require that we make decisions, right? So go back to how to make this decision, look at your options, look at your values, and look at which option aligns the most with your values. Anything you want to have, anything you desire, is going to require facing your emotions. You can have it, but it's going to require getting unblocked, like we've talked about today. I want you to come back and watch this again, take notes, right? Do the reflection questions that come with this month's trainings. Like I designed them to help you get unblocked, process these things, look at these beliefs, realign things, expand, expand, expand. Because when you do that, you create space for that to be a possible reality for you. And then it can be. It can't be if you don't think so. It can't be if you're afraid of it. It can't be for all these reasons. But we will always get what we desire, that we believe and expect. Okay? So now I'm going to answer a few questions that I have gotten because they're always questions and I don't want this to be too much longer. So I'm only going to take a few. If I manifested something bad in my life, is it my fault? I love this question because fault is such a heavy word. I would say that if you manifested something bad in your life, What you're really saying is that you were available for something bad, or you were anxious about something bad happening. You saw it happening, you believed it was possible, and it came true. Is it your fault? Every experience is information, it's education. We're meant to learn from things, we're meant to grow from things. I would say that it can't 100% be your fault because reality is not created by you and you alone. It is a co-creation. So it's less about, is it my fault? And more about, how was I available for this? Why did I believe that this was going to happen? And was I anxiously awaiting it to happen? Because those are the recipe for getting what we want, right? We believe it. We know what we want, even if that means it's like what I don't want, right? Go back and listen to the podcast for this month's theme, where I talk more in depth about this. But it's not entirely your fault, but there is things that you can look at so that you don't repeat this intentionally. How do I know if my beliefs are supporting what I want to manifest? How comfortable are you when you think about having the thing that you want? If you woke up tomorrow and you had the thing that you want, does it make you anxious, or do you feel at ease, or do you feel excited? That is going to tell you uh, if your beliefs are supporting what you want to manifest. And if they're not, and if you don't feel comfortable in it, what would make you feel more comfortable? What do you think you would need in order to feel really comfortable having that thing tomorrow? Um, what kind of ideas would somebody who has that thing already be thinking? Um, or how would they look at the world? How would they show up in the world, etc. I'm not doing any of these things and I'm still manifesting. Yay! Are these steps even necessary? I would say that you're definitely doing these things unconsciously. Maybe you're just really good at knowing what you want and letting it be okay. Maybe you are really confident in yourself and have really strong beliefs about the world. You feel safe in the world. Um, I would say that if you're not getting blocked around your manifestations, that's amazing. Keep doing that. Are these steps necessary? 100%. If we don't believe in it, if we're not clear about what we want and we don't believe it's possible, I mean, it's not gonna happen. A lot of things happen that we don't expect. Surprises happen. Um, but consciously manifesting, yeah, these steps are necessary, absolutely. It's just it gives us the agency and the control and the personal power that is required for us to really thrive in our lives and enjoy our lives. I'm so congested. Sorry. Okay, last question. I'm doing these things, but the doubt creeps back in. Of course it does. How do I stop the doubt from throwing me off track? I love that you said, how do I stop it from throwing me off track instead of how do I stop it? Because you're not going to stop it. That doubt is just showing you that you need to go back to your beliefs and you need to revisit your beliefs and you need to get your beliefs behind what you want. And all that means is that you need to expand what you believe is possible. You need to see how it's possible. That's all I'm saying here. When I'm thinking about looking at our beliefs, how could this be possible? How might this be possible? Right? And really playing with that and using your imagination behind that. And then looking at, I lost the question. Uh, Getting off track, right? If it throws you off track, you get back on track. You just look at those beliefs again, you get your beliefs behind it, and usually when our beliefs are behind it, we get excited and we start to look forward to it. And we're like, oh my gosh, this could really show up in my life. This might really show up in my life. This is going to show up in my life. And we get really confident and we learn to expect it. And then if the doubt creeps back in, maybe there was another belief, maybe there was something that happened that threw you off track. But typically, I've found that when I really rewire my beliefs, I I don't go backwards. I don't go backwards. I learned that, okay, that's how I believed it then. This is how I believe it now. It's going to change in the future. They're allowed to change. Your beliefs are allowed to change. But don't look at doubt as an enemy. Just be like, oh, okay, why do I not believe this is, excuse me, why do I not believe this is fully possible for me? And to get back on track to why is it possible? Is it impossible? Is it completely impossible? Is there no way it could happen? Um, what do I think would require, what would I think need to happen first in order for me to have it? Can I remember the butterfly effect? Can I remember that it doesn't always mean that something needs to happen first? Sometimes I can just take the step that feels right and miraculous things can happen. So I hope that this training was helpful for you. I hope that this month has been helpful for you. I have been so excited to do this because, like I said, I have an amazing mentor. Um, if anyone's curious, one of my mentors is Amanda Francis, and the way that I have learned to manifest even better through her courses and her guidance can't speak highly of it enough, but this is more of a synthesis. This is my way of simplifying and making it practical and relatable so that you can understand that it's not a difficult thing to do, that you can do it, that we are all always doing it, right? When we look at the results we're getting in our lives, we can always reverse engineer and see how something we wanted or didn't want that we believed was possible and we were anxiously anticipating happened, or something that we wanted and we believed was possible and we were excitedly anticipating happened. And it's always just this process of getting from what you want to having what you want is going to require this belief step. It's going to require this expectation step. It's going to require processing the emotions that show up along the way. It's going to require being willing to fully feel your emotions so that you can experience the full spectrum of life. And know that, no, 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 always, 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 that at the core of it all is your worthiness and remembering your worthiness and knowing how true that worthiness is, and then seeking out the experiences that you deserve to have because you're worthy, right? You didn't deserve it because you worked really hard, or the working hard is not what made you worthy. You were worthy from the beginning, from the start. It's a fact. So show up from that place and move from that place and get behind that belief first, and then anything that you want is possible. Just be available for it, be open to it, and watch it show up in your life. This has been such a fun month. I can't wait to get your feedback and find out how you've been taking everything in. Remember to do the questions, rewatch the trainings if you need to, take lots of notes, and happy, happy manifesting, guys. Okay, bye-bye.